Hey, that's the guy.
What guy?
The guy that stole my glasses. This time I got him! Could you pick it up a little? Where the hell are we going? It's getting on a bus. Damn. Those are nice glasses.
I don't like them. They pinch my nose.
Is that right?
But I don't want to be a
secondary character.
The Commando 8.
12,000 BTUs of power.
I should get one of those for here. It gets pretty hot in here sometimes.
It'd be handy in summer.
It would be. Welcome to another episode of But I Don't Want to Be a Secondary Character. My name's Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
This week we are doing Season 5, Episode 3 of The Glasses, and this is a podcast where we don't necessarily talk about the episodes of Seinfeld, but we talk about the secondary characters featured in every one, and we're at the very end of the entire series. This is our 11th last podcast.
Yeah, coming up on 4 years, and we'll be finishing late March, so it's been a wonderful run. So if you've been listening to us from the start, or if you're a recent listener, thank you so much, and we hope that you stay with us between now and the end of it all.
Yeah, indeed. If you want to follow us, you can find us on social media at BIDWBASC. You can also email us, bidwabaskpodcast@gmail.com. We love hearing from all of you, and you can find us pretty much anywhere you can get podcasts.
That's right, and if you want to rate us or review us, that would be amazing. We really appreciate that, and you can support us financially on as well. We are on Patreon. Check that out in the show notes. And we do have the option for one-off donations. If a monthly commitment is a bit too much for you, you can do that via PayPal. And again, those details are down below, so check them out. And finally, we do run the biggest Seinfeld community online. It's called Seinfeldisms. It's a Facebook group. We're at about 125,000 members now. It's growing and growing and growing. It's absolutely fantastic, and lots of cool things happening for the next few weeks and for the remainder of the year.
Very good. Anyway, speaking of Seinfeldisms, like we do every episode or at the start of each episode, Seinfeld-related things that have happened in your life, Seinfeldisms, my friend. Nothing's happened for me once again, but what about you?
Yeah, so on the weekend, I went for a 3-day bike ride with a bunch of mates, and one of the guys that I went with, I hadn't actually met before, but I'd heard about, and I knew I would like him based on just, the stuff I'd heard through another mutual friend who we went with. And as soon as I met the guys, we all met at Wangaratta, which is a town about 2.5 hours northeast of Melbourne, where we are. As soon as I walked up to him, he was wearing a Seinfeld t-shirt.
Ah, sweet.
So I'm like, I like you already. Now I definitely like you.
And you told him about the podcast?
Yeah, we talked a bit about the podcast in the group, and there were a few Seinfeld quotes over the weekend, I should say.
Great.
Mostly bike riding and a lot of beer, but Seinfeld peppered in here and there. So it was a nice surprise Seinfeldism.
And speaking of Seinfeld shirts, you're actually wearing the one your mate got you, the Del Boca Vista shirt.
Yeah, I think I talked about it last week or the week before. No, it was last week.
Yeah, last week.
Yeah, a friend got me this t-shirt. It's a mashup of Frank yelling on the phone about Del Boca Vista and Metallica's first album, Kill 'Em All, the artwork on that album. So yeah.
Sweet.
Channeling Seinfeld.
Going in lock, stock and barrel.
That's it. And that's all I've got this week.
Cool. What about Seinfeld news?
Yeah, so 3 bits of news. The first, which was actually quite surprising, and I'm surprised that this hadn't sort of been reported on or talked about prior, but Chris Rock recently did an interview with Stephen Colbert. And in the interview, he said that he was actually considered for George Costanza back in the early 90s.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the NBC producers had approached him. He was kind of being considered. Didn't work out, though. He did go on to say that selecting Jason Alexander was the right move because, he's just brilliant. And he also said that he was considered to be one of the cast members of Friends as well. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, there you go. Interesting.
Yeah.
He, funnily, he told Colbert that he would have been the, quote, black friend. And he said that that's actually who I am to America anyway. So it worked out.
Black friends.
Yeah.
The one when people say, I have black friends.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the second bit of Seinfeld news, a guy by the name of Dominick Nero, who is actually a videographer, pretty talented guy, he's decided to use footage from Seinfeld, as well as shows that some of the Seinfeld casts have starred in, like Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee and Veep, etc., and mash it up with Twin Peaks footage. So the original series and the return, which I think came out in 2019. Is that right? 2018, 2019?
No, 2017, because I remember after my operation, it was on Stan, which is like one of the subscription services. It just got released, or it got released a couple of months before. So yeah, I remember 2017. I was in a wheelchair and I watched the whole thing.
Right. Well, there you go. You would know because I haven't seen it. So
yeah.
Yep. Yeah, he's decided to take footage from all of those and create basically an edited together, but a really, really beautifully edited together Seinfeld reunion. Part 1 is available now, and we'll put a link link to that in the show notes. Parts 2 and 3 are apparently coming out towards the end of this month, being January or early next month. And then he'll tie them all together and release them as one sort of solid completed video on his YouTube channel. So we'll put all those details in the show notes. But it's really, really awesome. Like the guy is, like I've seen on YouTube, there's a video called Seinfeld the Movie.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, edited together. It's okay, but it's not professionally done.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is obviously a real pro, or just took so much time to do it, because it looks as good as a movie trailer.
Yeah, for sure. And a friend of the podcast, Jesse, from the Instagram page Sign Peaks, I'm sure he's all over it.
Yeah, I'm sure he'd probably know a lot about it. He might even know him personally or know a bit about him. Yeah, so Sign Peaks, the Instagram account, and Jesse actually guested on our show last year. I can't remember which episode, but so check that out in our feed. And also check out the work of Dominick as well, videographer. Yeah.
Dominick Nero.
Dominick Nero. There you go. Third and final bit of news is that through the week, Julia Louis-Dreyfus turns 60.
That's right, yes.
So
read quite a few pages about it on Seinfeldisms. Quite a few articles.
Yeah, a lot of posts on Seinfeldisms and a lot of articles, a lot of interviews, a lot of tributes. Really, really nice to read. I mean, as if you're a regular listener of us, you would know that we adore her pretty much like every other Seinfeld fan. She did do an interview with a website called closerweekly.com, and in it she talked a bit about what she's learnt in her 60 years of life. She said, quote, "I feel really strong. I'm good. I'm here." That was in reference to her breast cancer diagnosis and subsequent treatment. And she said that over the last 2 years, she was always a bit of a health nut, but that she's really, really doubled down on her health. Yeah. She does transcendental meditation.
Nice.
She does cycling, walking, hiking, all sorts of things.
That's what Jerry does too.
Yeah.
Yeah, transcendental. What was it called?
It's a bit of a mouthful.
Yeah.
Transcendental.
Transcendental meditation. Yeah, that's what Jerry does.
Yeah. A lot of practitioners of that just call it TM.
TM,
because it's probably easier than saying transcendental meditation.
Yeah, I think so.
It's like 18 syllables.
Yeah. Put a trademark on that.
TM. Well, TM the TM.
That's right, TM it. So no one takes it.
Yeah, so it's a sweet little interview, and we'll put a link for that, as usual, in our show notes, and that's all the Seinfeld news for the week.
Indeed. Let's take a really quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about some secondary characters from Season 5's The Glasses.
You're listening to But I Don't Want to Be a Secondary Character.
The Glasses first aired in the US on September 30th, 1993, directed by Tom Sharones and written by Tom Gamble and Max Pross. In this episode, George loses his glasses at the health club, but his plans to get a new pair using Kramer's discount backfires. Meanwhile, Jerry buys a black market air conditioner, the Commando 8, and Elaine gets bitten by a dog at the optometrist's office. Secondary characters in the episode: Stephen, Anna Gunn, she plays Amy. Len Lesso makes an appearance as Uncle Leo. Hello! Timothy Stack plays Dwayne the optometrist. Rance Howard plays the blind man. Michael Sard plays the doctor, and a special mention to an unseen character, Cousin Jeffrey.
Cousin Jeffrey, the ever-elusive Cousin Jeffrey.
Indeed. Bit of trivia about the episode, some interesting ones, Steve. This episode was dedicated to the memory of John Ottery. He was a camera operator on the show.
Yeah, I did see that, and apparently it was the first tribute to appear in Seinfeld. Yeah, and I think there are a few more from memory. I can't remember what they are or what episodes, who they're for or what episodes they appear in, but it does happen after this at least once.
I think Lloyd Bridges was paid tribute to in
one.
a Season 9 episode.
Yep.
Yeah, because he passed away around that time.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember there were a few others as well.
Yeah. Yep. So RIP.
Yeah.
On Twitter, Jason Alexander actually revealed that he did actually eat an onion.
Yeah, it looked pretty real.
Yeah, and his reaction looked pretty real as well.
It did, yeah.
He did say that they did boil the onion a few times to soften it and sort of reduce the flavour. So,
yeah.
I mean, it still would have been very unpleasant, but not raw onion.
And I love excellent acting by Jason. I love how George just keeps eating the onion, even though he's been told it's not an apple, it's an onion. He just still eats it.
Well, that's that George Costanza kind of stubbornness where, he'd rather double down on something dumb than just admit that maybe he can't see or maybe he made a mistake.
Even if it affects him physically.
Yeah.
This is the 4th out of 10 overall mentions of Bob Sacamano in this episode.
Oh, there you go.
So he'll get referred to another 6 times.
One of the more popular unseen characters.
That's right, and he had rabies.
Yeah.
A friend who had rabies, Bob Sacamano.
He's had a storied life.
Oh, he has. He's had everything.
The father of Ron Howard, Rance Howard, as you said, he plays the blind man in the episode. He makes another appearance in the series, and I didn't pick it up until I read this. He's the farmer in The Bottle Deposit.
That's right. He's the one whose daughter Newman seduces.
Yeah.
And then he drives off, and the farmer's got the shotgun, and the daughter says, "I love you, Norman."
That's it.
Yeah. Great line.
And the brother of Ron Howard, this is sort of a little addition to the trivia, Clint Howard, he played the role of Tobias, a car thief, in The Trip. I can't remember.
Oh, he was revealed to be the Smog Strangler as well.
Oh, yeah.
So he was the one in the back of the cop car with Jerry and George.
Yeah.
And when Kramer was falsely accused of being the Smog Strangler, it's revealed that he was the Smog Strangler.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now
So
I remember.
there you go.
Yeah.
So Clint, so there have been a couple of Howards on the show. Yeah, very interesting. This is the second episode in which Jerry's green bike is suddenly blue and silver. And from the next episode onward, it's green.
Oh.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Jerry swapped his bikes or something.
Or maybe his bike was getting serviced.
Yeah.
And then he just had like one of those loan bikes. Is that a thing? I know you ride bikes a lot, but are there like loan bikes if you're getting your bike serviced? But I guess it doesn't take as long to service a bike, right?
Oh, well, it depends. Like a basic bike service you can do in an hour.
Yeah.
You just change the oil and tighten some things up and realign some things.
But you don't really need a loan bike for an hour, do you?
No,
You
not
get
really.
around.
No, not really. Look, most cyclists who are serious enough to take their bike to a bike shop to get serviced by a professional probably have a second bike anyway.
Yeah.
So it's kind of redundant.
Yep.
And if you've only got one bike and it's just a casual thing, you're probably not going to get it serviced because you just don't care.
No.
So yeah, it's not really much of. I've never heard of it. It might be something offered at some bike shops, like really premium bike shops maybe, but not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, who knows? They just swap the prop.
It would be kind of unnecessary. Just give your legs a break for a few days and, get your bike.
Yeah, have a rest.
Exactly.
Exactly. That's all the trivia I have, buddy. What about you?
Yeah, I've got a couple more. So in a unshown scene, it was actually a cut scene, it was revealed that Amy, Jerry's girlfriend in the episode, was in fact having an affair with Jeffrey.
Yes, that's very interesting. And because it's interesting because in an earlier scene, the first scene we see of Amy, Jerry's kind of doing all these workarounds to try and make Amy admit what she did. But you can kind of see she's trying to hide it as well. Like you can see she's like, nothing's happened or blah, blah, blah. But you can kind of see that it's like she's hiding the fact that she had an affair with cousin Jeffrey.
Yeah, she is being a bit vague.
Yeah,
and she only starts revealing details as Jerry probes. We'll talk a bit more about that when we talk about her character, which, well, now that I think of it, let's just go straight into Amy.
Talk about Amy and the actor. So she's played by Anna Gunn, and you probably know her as two-time Emmy Award-winning character Skylar White from Breaking Bad, another Breaking Bad alumni alongside Bryan Cranston and Bob Odenkirk.
Bob Odenkirk, yeah.
Yeah, Bob Odenkirk, yeah. So they've all appeared on Breaking Bad and ended up on Seinfeld.
The other way around.
Yeah, that's what sorry. Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, went from Seinfeld to Breaking Bad.
For half a second, I thought, when was Breaking Bad made?
It was like a 1994 TV series.
Yeah, I swear they had smartphones in that.
Yeah, they did. The Breaking Bad from the 2000s was a reboot.
Yeah.
Anna also appeared in other TV shows, including Deadwood in a few episodes, Murder One, and The Practice. Now with Amy, before we do talk about her indiscretions with Jeffrey or her, unseen or deleted indiscretions, she loves the park. So she's probably a fan of nature and possibly gardens. I could imagine she probably has like a little garden in her apartment or a terrace, where she lives. And she probably plants a few things and enjoys being around nature.
Yeah, I would assume that maybe she came from like outside of New York. She doesn't really have a New York accent or any New York, typical New York mannerisms. Maybe she just came from an area with a bit more or a bit less people, got to appreciate nature a bit more. And she's just trying to enjoy that in whatever way she can, living in New York, where other than Central Park in upstate New York, it's not readily available at your doorstep. And I thought, when Jerry was still trying to figure out whether she was making or when he believed that she was making out with Jeffrey, she was trying to figure out how they would have met. And Jerry's saying to Elaine, Jeffrey works at the parks department. She likes the park.
Yeah.
They could have met.
They could have met.
And, at first you think that's such a tenuous connection. Like he's really, really grasping there.
You're pushing it. Yeah.
Yeah. But when they're actually at Jeffrey's house and talking to Leo, when Leo starts talking about, I think he says something about he likes nature or he likes the park or something like that, Amy's kind of paying attention. But as soon as he says park or nature or whatever he says, her eyes light up and look. So, I mean, you can take that reaction as in like, oh, he likes the park. I like the park. I want to meet him. Or if we're going with the theory of they are actually having an affair.
Yeah.
Because, you could argue whether a deleted scene is official or not.
It's not canon, I don't think.
It's not canon, but, the fact that they were thinking about it and there are a few signs that maybe it was happening, like you said.
Yeah. It was just totally different. Like each scene that she was in, both scenes, so the last one with Uncle Leo and the first one with Jerry, she just seemed totally different in each scene.
No, I know what you mean. And when Jerry was trying to interrogate her or get some information out of her indirectly by being a bit sort of sly, at first she's like, no, I did nothing. She's being very evasive and very, very nondescript. And it's only when Jerry starts probing her and asking, did you go walk along Columbus Avenue? She's like, oh, actually, yeah, no, I went out. She's trying to give him enough information to keep him satisfied, but not so much that he would be able to confirm his suspicion.
I think the reason why they probably went with the route of her not having an affair, I think the joke was George Jerry relying on George's vision, and the fact he didn't wear his glasses, he said, oh, I saw Cousin Jeffrey and, Amy going for it.
Yep.
But then at the end, it's a horse because Elaine comments saying that Jeffrey has a horse face.
Yep.
And then there's the cop that looks like the silhouette kind of looks like Amy,
Yeah.
with the short blonde hair.
Yeah.
I think they probably thought, I think it'd be funnier if... they probably thought it'd be funnier if George is being like a terrible narrator, like an unreliable narrator
Yeah.
or eyewitness. That was probably the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah, they probably thought it'd be dumb if George saw something he thought he saw, but then it wasn't true, but then they were actually having an affair.
Yeah.
It probably just wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, it's a bit contradictory.
Yeah.
Yeah, or a bit too convenient. Like,
Yeah.
George didn't see them. George saw a horse and another woman, but it turns out they're having an affair anyway. Like,
Yeah,
that's such a reach.
It is a huge reach. So I'm kind of glad they went the way they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people cite Amy for being one of the least liked Jerry's girlfriends, and I don't know whether it's because of Skylar White, character in
Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Breaking Bad. No, she's like sort of aggressively disliked, I'd say, or universally disliked. I don't know if people are just projecting that onto Amy, but I was trying to separate her from Skylar White, and I couldn't find much to like about her. She doesn't do anything to make me dislike her.
Yeah, she doesn't do much.
No. One thing that I didn't like about her is that she has an expectation that Jerry buys what would be an expensive, Jerry does okay. He can afford to buy his father a Cadillac.
What is she, a reptile?
Yeah.
Goodness.
And he can afford to pay a vet bill, which I'm sure wouldn't be cheap.
Yeah.
But the fact that she is constantly sort of demanding that he get an aircon unit, and the fact that Jerry's willing to do that is, I don't know, it's quite, like, if she doesn't like the heat and she really needs aircon, it's like, okay, that's fair.
It was quite disingenuous, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was just, I don't know, it was just like an unreasonable expectation.
Yeah.
Go to her house. If she's got aircon at her house, like, yeah, I would just be very, very annoyed if a person I'd recently started dating laid that at my feet. I'd say, well, no.
And Jerry also gets really upset when Amy says you've got a bad side, an ugly side. And he goes, bad side, ugly side. I don't want that. I want her to see it 6 months from now.
Yeah, you've upset the whole learning curve.
He's a learning curve. So he's already planning like a short to long term or short to mid term relationship with
He's
her.
obviously keen on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that I don't know, because all she has to say is there's nothing to tell. And he's like, oh, okay. So he's easily...
Want to get some pizza?
Want to get some pizza? Want to get pizza?
He's
He's easily convinced just by her saying, no, you're wrong. Which, I mean, she doesn't have an obligation to disprove his suspicions. He should trust her. But usually he'd be a bit more...
Apprehensive.
He'd give her the benefit of the doubt, but he'd still be a bit sus. But the fact that he's just like, oh, okay. Yeah, there must be something about her that he really likes. But
he's kind of under her spell almost.
Yeah, but the side that Jerry's attracted to is not shown on screen.
No.
Again, she's not shown to be a unpleasant or unkind or unlikable person, but she's just kind of flat.
Just a bit of a control freak as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and flat. Yeah, I guess, because she only really has 2 scenes.
Yeah.
So I can see why not many people like her. She doesn't have enough time to kind of develop.
Yeah,
really.
normally we theorize about maybe what people do for a living or what they like outside of, what they show on the episode. Couldn't really find anything to work with other than she seems to really like Paul Simon.
Yeah.
I don't know, and Paul Simon's pretty popular, so even that's not a unique character trait to build like a theory off.
No.
It's just like, oh yeah, millions of other people are Paul Simon fans too. Okay.
But she's going to the park.
Yeah.
Which makes her very happy.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe it's more about the park, the setting, than the actual artist.
I thought that maybe she isn't a huge fan of Paul Simon. I think Jerry probably got tickets for the next person who's playing. And then I think she's more happy about the fact she's going to the park rather than Paul Simon.
True.
It could be anyone. But the fact she's going to the park to a concert, she's like, yeah, it's cool.
True.
Yeah.
The only other thing that I could glean from what she'd said was that she said to Jerry, I had a feeling that, you were basically too good to be true because I hadn't seen any flaws in you yet. That kind of suggests to me that maybe she'd had a bad run of relationships. She was just a bit more dubious of guys.
Or maybe she's just a control freak. Maybe she's like a female version of Jerry. She expects... her partners to be flawless, and then when there's like a slight flaw, then she gets really upset, like Jerry does. Especially in later seasons, Jerry gets upset over someone eating peas one at a time.
Yeah.
She's probably so picky. Maybe she's just a female version of Jerry.
That's a good point, actually.
But a bit more needy.
Yeah, she could be.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jerry doesn't demand air conditioners. He just breaks up with them.
That's right.
Whereas she's like, well, I'm going to hold his flaws against him, but I'm also going to expect me to get stuff.
Exactly. Well, like
expect him to get me stuff.
Yeah, like Jerry. If the story went where Jerry went to Amy's apartment and there was no air conditioning, it was hot.
Yep.
He'd probably just break up with her saying, you don't have air conditioning.
Yeah.
And you won't get an aircon, so I'm just going to leave you.
Well, he wouldn't break up with her with that because he doesn't like air conditioning. It's revealed in this episode.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah,
yes,
but he would find another reason.
He'd find another, yeah.
It's like, I don't like your character in Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
I'm breaking up with you.
I'm breaking up with you. The 1994 original series.
Yeah, exactly.
On NBC.
Yeah.
Breaking Bad.
Do you have anything else about Amy?
No, but yeah, definitely one of the least memorable Jerry girlfriends.
Yeah,
I agree.
I think it's because, yeah, like you said, Jerry normally finds a reason to break up with them, and it's always usually a really petty, forgivable, understandable flaw or personality trait or quirk or whatever.
But this time it's his doing.
Yeah, and she doesn't exhibit any particular quirk or anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she's not really essential to the storyline.
No.
Yeah, she's definitely one of the least memorable.
Well, just one more thing before we go to the next character. I feel like that Jerry really shows his immaturity with the line, "Want to get some pizza?" You know, whereas Amy's all straight-faced and mature about the whole situation. It's like the first wisps of really seeing Jerry being like a man-child, because we see more of this happening in later seasons. So I like how in this episode it's kind of like the start of him like saying immature things or doing immature things.
Yeah.
In contrast to his more mature girlfriends.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I mean, if you accuse someone of cheating and they just flat out deny it, and your response is, "Do you want to get some pizza?" You're basically saying, let's just pretend this didn't happen because it's too awkward to deal with and go eat pizza. Like that's not a very emotionally mature or healthy way to deal with what is a pretty tense situation.
Yeah. So there you go.
Yeah.
So it was nice that we saw like early stages of like real immature childish Jerry.
Yeah, and I think it's a bit selfish as well, because if I was accused of cheating and I didn't do it, and I showed my displeasure at being accused to the person accusing me, and they were just like, all right, well, let's go get some coffee or let's go eat some pizza. I'd be pretty pissed off. It's like, hang on, you've accused me of doing something horrible. We need to talk about this. Like, yeah, you've hurt me.
Yeah, you've done all this shit and you still want to go out and eat?
Yeah.
Go on a date?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about the doctor.
Okay, Doctor, cool. He was last on my list, but I guess we'll talk about him now.
I don't know why I pronounced doctor.
Doctor. No shut. Dogbait. Played by Michael Sard. He's most famous for playing the antagonist from season 7 of Jag, General Hassan Abdullah. So fans of that show, you probably know who that is. I have no idea. He's also appeared in episodes of 7th Heaven, 24, and Murder, She Wrote. And I said to you just before we started recording, my man, my favourite secondary in the episode.
Oh, he's great.
He's like, he only has a couple of very short scenes, but he's just funny.
He kills it.
He kills it. He's so good. Yeah. He's just like, his command of English is so poor, you know, and you're thinking, how is he just an emergency doctor, or how is he just a GP at the hospital?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think he lacks the sort of the human element of being a GP. He's obviously very efficient, very proficient at...
But no empathy.
Yeah, no empathy, no sort of like bedside manner, I think the term is.
Yeah.
Just sort of straight down the line. And look, even if he doesn't understand what Elaine is saying, I think it would be remiss if a doctor didn't probe and say, hang on, what do you... Like, try and interrogate and say, try and understand. He's just like, no shot. Dog bite. Yeah, you know, he just sort of, he assumes that he knows.
Not bang bang.
Yeah, he assumes that she knows what she's saying and sort of just goes with that. You know, whereas I think if there was an English barrier, there would be an obligation to sort of try a bit harder to understand what that person is saying, what the patient is saying, not just going, well, this is what I think she's saying, and I'm just going to go with it. Yeah. And not being dismissive.
Well, I guess one hypothetical could probably be like maybe he got assigned to work at that hospital because maybe the main doctor was sick and they had no one else. There was a shortage of some sort. So they're like, oh, this guy, he's got qualifications. So maybe he just got in there.
Yeah, I don't think he's bad at
his
like
job.
The sort of procedural side. He's great at it. He's probably highly admired and highly respected. Like I said, he's just got no bedside manner.
No.
I don't know. Maybe he should be a surgeon because they don't have to talk to the patients.
Yeah.
You know, because they're not conscious.
No, that's right.
You know, and then leave the more empathetic, emotional side to different doctors. I don't know.
No bypass, amputation.
Yeah. The only other thing I was thinking, maybe he, you know, because he's obviously not from America.
No. Recently immigrated, I think.
Recently immigrated. You know, maybe it's just not something that is common in the country where he's from. Or maybe he's from a country that has, you know, maybe he's like a war doctor or something where there's just no room for empathy. It's just all, you know, we just need to, you know, doctor. There's no room or luxury of that sort of thing. And that's just what he's used to.
Well, the actor's name is Michael Sard. Yep. And I think Sard's Middle Eastern. So probably like Iraq, Iran, Jordan, like that part of the world, maybe the Middle East. And the actor, he plays a lot of Middle Eastern characters as well, so I assume he's from that background. So yeah, he's probably from like maybe he served in the Gulf War, like maybe as a doctor, you know, he helped wounded civilians and soldiers in Iraq.
I mean, you know, prior to the Gulf War, Iraq had been, you know, going through all sorts of horrible conflicts for years and years
with
and
the
years.
Kurds and Saddam Hussein's regime and stuff.
So I'm sure he's seen a lot of horrible stuff, and he's just not used to that sort of more gentle bedside manner that, Elaine and maybe other Americans would come to expect.
Yeah, and I feel like in a way he's probably relieved that he's just doing like general medicine. He's not on the front lines, helping wounded soldiers.
Not as intense.
Yeah, he's just doing like rabies shots.
Yeah.
Treating people's bites or shots or whatever.
Yeah,
it's just basic stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there'd be some intense situations coming through just as a regular GP, but you're not in a war zone.
No.
Yeah,
there's
no blown off limbs, and there's room to take your time.
Of course.
I think over time he would have sort of changed his tone and been a bit more gentle and soft and empathetic.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah, because like I said, he's a good doctor. He's just needs a little work on the human to human side,
the social skills.
Yeah,
if you will.
Yeah,
but I liked him.
Yeah, he was hilarious.
Yeah, he's so good.
He said he said probably like 12 or 15 words a lot, but every single one was tremendous.
Yeah, it just worked. It was so good.
Will this hurt? Yes, very much.
Yes, very much.
Just bang straight in.
Yeah.
No warning. No rubbing with the numbing alcohol or whatever it is. Just bang straight in.
And Elaine just winces.
Yeah.
It's so good. Anyway, let's talk about Dwayne. He's the optometrist. He's played by actor and writer Timothy Stack. He's known for Son of the Beach and The Brave Little Toaster. He's also played a semi-fictionalized version of himself in 18 episodes of TV comedy My Name is Earl. So Dwayne, he had a sugar addiction, which Kramer helped him out of.
Yeah, he was addicted to Baby Ruth bars, which is the chocolate bar that Kramer holds up and sort of tortures him with. Ring Dings and Butterfingers, as well as Dinky Donut Cinnamon Scrolls.
That's right. I had to throw him out at one point because he ordered too much food.
Yeah, that's right. And Kramer got him off sugar by stuffing cantaloupe down his throat by after taking him to Joe's fruit stand.
Yeah, I feel like Dwayne was probably like an obese or very fat person, and he probably after the sugar rehab addiction or withdrawal or whatever you want to call it, I feel like he lost a lot of weight.
Yeah, no, that would make sense. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. I think maybe he was down and out. I mean, Kramer said that he found him at Dinky Donuts.
Yeah.
I don't know whether they were friends prior and Kramer just ran into him, or if he just saw that there was something wrong. He knew that this guy was in trouble and, he helped him out and then they became friends. I'm not too sure.
I think that because Kramer befriends the most interesting and eccentric people, he probably went to Dinky Donuts, saw him. Actually, I think we can link this back to season 3's The Note. Because that's where Kramer went to Dinky Donuts and he saw Joe DiMaggio dunking his donut. Maybe he saw Dwayne there.
Yeah.
So, on one of his many adventures to go look at Joe DiMaggio, he saw Dwayne out the front.
Yep.
And then maybe in that moment he helped him.
I think it would have been on one of his visits. He was probably going there because from what I remember in that episode, he goes to Dinky Donuts at least 2 or 3 times to see Joe.
Yep.
So he's probably going there a lot just to try and catch Joe. But on the times that Joe isn't there, I think if Joe was there, he wouldn't have paid attention to anything but Joe. He was so obsessed.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have even noticed that this guy was struggling with eating the cinnamon scrolls.
All right,
so
let's go with that.
Yeah, I think it's one of the times he went there to try and scope out Joe.
And he wasn't there, and he saw Dwayne out the front.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, I'll have a cup of coffee and a donut anyway. I'm here.
Yep.
I'll wait. And then he saw this guy, and then he helped him out, took him to Joe's fruit stand, and then they become friends.
Yep.
And then at some point, maybe after he took him home or, maybe he helped him out with like a dietitian or, someone to help him out with his addiction.
Yep.
He said, I really appreciate it. I'm an optometrist. If you ever have need for frames or glasses or any of your friends, come on into J&T and I'll give you a discount.
You give you a discount. I think that's what happened because each season's around a year in the timeline, 9 months to a year.
Yep.
So yeah, that makes sense. It took him a couple of years to get off his addiction and to lose all that weight.
Yep.
Yeah, makes sense. And Kramer, he was banned 2 episodes ago from Joe's fruit store. So it's not like he went recently to help him. So this must have been at least a year or 2 before.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense and that times out well.
So there you go. So Kramer went to go see Joe but ended up seeing Dwayne.
Why do you think Dwayne is? I mean, because Kramer says, oh, how quickly we forget.
Yeah.
The fact that Dwayne obviously really, really suffered from a sugar addiction because just holding a chocolate bar in front of him, you can see him. He's struggling. He hates it. It's
like Kramer with gambling.
It's torture.
Yeah.
And he knows that if he even takes one bite of a chocolate bar, he's going to it's going to go back to darkness for him. Why do you think that he's so willing to forget? Do you think he genuinely forgot and he's confused, or do you think he's just trying to be a bit slippery and get out of it? Or?
I think because, he recovered so long ago, and I don't think him and Kramer have been in touch. Like, I think Kramer probably knows that Dwayne works at J&T.
Yep.
Or he's like the head optometrist there or something. But then, maybe he hasn't seen Kramer in a long time. Like, he knows who Kramer is, or maybe just because they caught up in his work that, he forgot, like maybe he did forget about Kramer as well. But I feel like he probably deliberately is trying to avoid avoid,
Yeah.
Kramer. Or maybe the business isn't doing so well and he's trying to avoid like discounts and stuff. So he's trying to do full price, 'cause
True.
maybe I don't know, maybe the business is struggling because there's no customers in there.
Yeah, that's
when
true.
George walks in, he's the only one there.
That's
and then the
true.
man with the dog walks in and it's just them.
Yeah, and he walks straight
He
back
gets
out.
made to leave. So maybe business, for some reason...
Yeah, maybe a
isn't doing
30%
so.
discount is significant for him.
Maybe it'll be like below cost
Yeah.
for him or something.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
True. No, that's a good theory.
Yeah.
Who knows? If you have a theory about why he's so, I guess, is avoidant a word? Avoidant?
Avoidance, yeah.
I don't know.
He's
It is now.
avoiding. He's avoiding.
Yeah, why he's avoiding a discount that he obviously offered Kramer. Because Kramer wouldn't just make something up. He wouldn't just say, oh yeah, he'll give me a 30% discount unless it's solid.
Yeah.
Kramer's not that sort of guy. And yeah, it's just interesting why if he genuinely forgot, or if it's something he can't do financially.
It might be a financial thing, maybe. Yeah.
Yep.
Or maybe he just wants to keep that all behind him. He wants to put all the past behind him and just move on.
Yeah, maybe the discount is a reminder of a dark part of his life.
Yeah, and he just wants
it's
to
a direct link
close it
back
off.
to it. Yeah.
Yep.
That's true.
Yep.
That's true.
Yeah, so...
Anything else about Dwayne?
Well, Dwayne, he ends up eating a baby Ruth in the final scene that he's in.
That's true, actually,
His
yeah.
addiction comes back.
Yeah. I don't know what triggered it. I don't know. Maybe just being reminded of it by, seeing it up close.
Yeah.
Kramer.
Because he wanted to bury it. He wanted to bury it in his past.
Yeah.
And it came back.
Or maybe he's thinking, you know what, I'm at a place of mental strength. Maybe I can have a chocolate bar occasionally without, going back to being a full-blown addict. Maybe he's just trying to eat them in a moderate level.
Hopefully.
Who knows?
Otherwise, he's back to where he was in
Yeah.
Dinky Donuts, like a heroin junkie just hanging out the front.
Yeah. That scene where Kramer does torture him is brilliant.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's very well done by both of them.
Yeah.
Both actors.
Yeah.
All right. I'll get in the discount.
So good.
Anyway, let's talk about Blind Man.
Yeah.
He's played by Rance Howard. He's the father, like we mentioned at the start of the episode, of Ron and Clinton Howard. He's received an Emmy nomination for Outstanding Children's Program for the show Through the Magic Pyramid in 1982, also executive produced by Ron. He also appears in The Bottle Deposit as the farmer, like you mentioned before, and he also appeared in Nebraska and the film Universal Soldier. He passed away in 2017 in LA. He was aged 89.
Okay.
Yeah, he's new to the club, so I'm guessing he's probably either a resident of New York who's moved clubs, or he's moved from interstate, possibly, and he's just joined the health club.
Yeah, definitely. I posit that he is actually recently blind.
Okay.
Yeah, he seems he doesn't really have any assertiveness in him. He's happy to be led around by George and, pulled as well by George.
Yeah.
I think the fact that he's maybe recently blind, he's still trying to, get used to what that means for him as a newly, vision impaired person.
Yeah, sure. So what do you
and
think? Maybe like surgery that went wrong, or macular degeneration, or...
I don't know. I didn't really come up with a reason why he was blind, just that it was recent. It could have been, an accident, or it could have been degenerative, or who knows. But the fact that he is wearing glasses that he doesn't like, I feel like this might be a bit of a stretch, but if someone who had been blind for a long time, they would know what glasses they want. They would find a pair that doesn't pinch their nose, and they would either get those same frames over and over again.
Yeah.
They would know what would be comfortable.
Like recently blind, I never thought of that. That's actually a really good point.
And also the fact that he doesn't have any like a walk. I don't know the term, like a blind stick, like a like a pole. I don't know what the actual term is, so I do apologize. Or like a guide dog or anything. Maybe he's almost like not in denial, but he's struggling to come to full terms with it and admit that, he does need some practical assistance, and he's still at the stage where he asks people for help rather than rely on a dog, or maybe doesn't trust those things.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just got the sense that he wasn't
comfortable.
He was still adjusting to being blind after being not blind for most of his life.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the fact that he wasn't really assertive, he was just sort of being towed around by George on his crazy paranoid adventure. I just got that feeling. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he seems pretty fit too. Yeah. I think he's probably always done, stuff like that. Yeah, he's always done gone to health clubs, gone to the gym or whatever. So he seemed all right.
Yeah, he's in good shape.
He's in good shape. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's pretty he's a cool guy too. You think maybe
he doesn't really say much.
No, you think he would have cracked it at George, about having to, get dragged around, onto the street and stuff. But he's pretty that's cool.
Yeah. See, I don't interpret that as him just being cool. Whatever happens, happens. I think that's him more just being, I need to rely on this guy to escort me because I don't feel comfortable doing it myself. I'll just go along with this weird situation. Like I said, he's not assertive enough to say, hang on, are you going to help me or are you going to leave me around? If you're going to leave me around, then piss off and I'll find someone else or I'll find another way.
Yeah.
He's just, because this person's helping him, he's just willing to put up with it because he's not confident to do it himself or rely on a dog or a walker or stick or whatever
How
they call
sad.
it.
Well, hopefully he found a dog.
I hope so.
Not the tough guy's dog.
Yeah. He doesn't seem, that's the thing though, he doesn't seem demoralized or he seems okay. I just think he's getting used to the practical reality of being blind and what that means and how to navigate the world, and just figuring out what works best for him, with his glasses, asking people, not being very confident, but he doesn't seem depressed or down or out of sorts.
No, he's trying to come to terms with his situation.
Yeah, emotionally maybe, but practically definitely. That's what I got.
Yeah, he's trying to get some help. I'm sure he's had lots of rehab, or he's learned some things, but maybe it's like the first time he's kind of like out on his own.
Yeah,
so he's kind of like
he's just trying to figure out what works for him. Like how do I make it easier for myself? Like how do I just do this like it's nothing sort of thing?
Yeah. Oh well, I'm sure he figured it out eventually.
Yeah, well, he got glasses that didn't pinch his nose.
Yeah, even though he doesn't realize they're women's frames.
He doesn't care.
Nah.
Yeah, they're comfortable.
They're comfortable.
Yeah, I'd rather frames I don't like than frames that pinch my nose.
That's true. Well, I've never worn glasses in my life, but I guess in terms of sunnies, then yeah, you wouldn't want them pinching your nose.
That's true.
For sure. Anyway, you have some notes on Tough Guy, right?
Yeah, so he's credited as Tough Guy, but I think he should go with Dog Guy because it seems a bit more fitting.
I think so.
Yeah, so I didn't get the actor or any of his previous credits.
No, I didn't get him either.
Yeah, but I mean, he is a bit of a tough guy. He's a pretty big dude.
Yeah.
His dog is a Rottweiler, which is sort of like a stereotypical kind of like tough guy dog.
Yep.
And they are a pretty tough, like no-nonsense dog themselves. And yeah, at the optometrist when he comes in the second time and George and the blind man are there, George just for some reason gives him Jerry's personal information.
Yeah.
And he has this look in his eye of like, ooh, okay, I'm going to go get him.
Yeah, and you think that he's going to like kill Jerry or bash him or something, but he just asks him to pay his vet bill.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there was a bit of like back and forth about it, off camera.
Yeah.
But eventually Jerry probably just said, because Jerry's got a bit of money at this point, he's earning very good money from his comedy gigs. He probably thought, oh, look, just to get this guy out of my hair, I'll just pay it. Stuff it.
Yeah.
It's usually the way he sometimes gets out of hairy situations.
Yeah. Jerry always kind of cops the financial consequences of his friends. I mean, it was Jerry's apartment and it was Jerry's air conditioner, but the fact that he just trusted Kramer to just pop the aircon on the sill, and it's not even the window frame that seals it down, it's the blind.
It's the blind. He's never had air conditioning.
That's true.
He probably doesn't know how it works.
Yeah.
He doesn't like it.
But I don't think you need to have had air conditioning to realize that like a big heavy box on a thin sill is not going to be steady.
Well, you make a good point. I'm actually surprised that he didn't say to Kramer, hey, shouldn't you George says, shouldn't you bolt this down?
Yeah.
But I'm surprised Jerry didn't say anything.
Yeah. Well, I guess Kramer does say, I'll come back and seal it later.
Yeah.
So maybe he just thought, like, for the next day or whenever Kramer's going to come back, it'll be fine. But
he nearly kills the dog.
Yeah.
And he kills the tough guy's dog, yeah.
Yeah.
I love how he just comes into the optometrist, and he doesn't realize dogs aren't allowed, because Dwayne says, you can't have dogs in here, get out.
Yeah.
But he just walks in it's like, oh, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
It's like he doesn't care about the rules.
Yeah, I don't think he's like a tough guy, because I think if he was a genuine tough guy, when Dwayne tells him to leave with his dog, he's very compliant. He doesn't even say anything. He just walks straight out.
Yeah.
Doesn't put up a fight, doesn't
After
argue.
the dog bit of lane, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe he just wanted to walk away from that situation because he didn't want to deal with a dog bite or something. I don't know. But he did have like a streak of kind of like toughness about him, but he wasn't a straight up tough guy.
Probably the worst thing he'd do is probably confront like a customer service officer about something.
Yeah.
Or want a refund or something.
Yeah, I think maybe he's just got a bit of a jerk streak.
A jerk streak. He's more like ignorant guy or jerk guy, not tough guy.
Yeah, don't think he's tough.
Wanker guy.
Yeah.
Like we'd say it down here.
Yeah.
Wanker guy.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that was Wanker guy. Do you have any other notes or characters?
No. So, like Ivan said at the top, Uncle Leo does make a fairly significant appearance in this episode, but he doesn't do or say anything that we haven't already talked about.
Yeah.
And he does already have his What's the Deal With episode from way back when. I can't even remember. Like
one of our last ones, I think. We did Uncle Leo.
Which was still like 2018, so a fair while ago, or maybe 2019.
Yeah. Well, also Cousin Jeffrey, it was the old bait and switch. We think that we'd finally see Cousin Jeffrey on screen, but Uncle Leo opens the door, and that's the running joke.
Yeah. Apparently, in one of the trivia points that we didn't get to talk about, they were actually thinking about showing, in like early versions of the script, they were actually thinking about showing Jeffrey, but then they decided that him remaining an unseen character is always funnier.
Yeah.
And it was a good like little misdirect where
it was,
you thought you were going to see him, and then, because he had been talked about before, and then, it was Leo who answers the door. He's like, hello.
That's it. We see him once again.
That's it. All right. That's it for all the secondary characters. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we'll find out where this episode sits in order of episodes we reviewed so far, and whether any of the secondary characters appear in our top 20 of all time.
Yeah.
You remember that night I found you at Dinky Donuts? You're all hopped up on cinnamon swirls. They wouldn't serve you anymore. You wouldn't even have any teeth if it wasn't for me taking you over to Joe's fruit stand and stuffing cantaloupe down your throat. But so much for gratitude. Yeah. All right. I'll give him the discount. Just put that thing away. But this squares us.
So, buddy, out of 159 episodes we have done so far, and we don't have many left, my friend, where does The Glasses from Season 5 sit for you?
This one sits at number 102.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
One you didn't really like too much.
It was a good episode. Nothing really stand out as far as I was concerned. Some good secondary characters. I did like the Doctor, Uncle Leo, I thought was in pretty good form. I did like the blind guy and also the optometrist Dwayne. I thought they're all pretty good secondary characters. But yeah, like nothing blew me away. Nothing I thought was terrible. Yeah, it was just sort of like a good, solid episode, but
yeah, cool.
Nothing remarkable or nothing awful. What about you?
Well, me, a bit higher than you, number 23.
Oh, wow.
I think it was a cracking episode. It was laugh a minute. Like, especially, it kind of reminded me of the Season 5 premiere, The Mango, where it was just like laugh a minute. There was like good one-liners. I loved a lot of Jerry's one-liners to like George and stuff. Like
He really takes a lot of digs at George. Like,
he does.
You're tunneling to the center of the earth.
Yeah. No, well, mailboxes, you idiot. I didn't have the heart to tell you, regarding the story about picking out raccoons.
Yeah, and we're with you, Aqua Boy.
Yeah. What are you doing? Tunneling to the center of the earth.
Yeah.
Like, he just had so many of those lines that just really elevated, the episode.
I did like Kramer, how he's like, may I have one of those,
madam?
You could see in that scene actually when they were waiting for the audience to finish laughing that they were trying really hard to not break character and laugh.
Yes,
Kramer had this like sort of little grin on his face, waiting. Yeah, I imagine there would have been a lot of takes of that shot.
And I love in that same scene how it starts and it shows George with the glasses on and Jerry says, I don't know what to say, Elton.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just like funny moments like that. It was just like everything was hilarious. Kramer's storyline was funny. George's, glasses storyline was funny. Yeah, like I didn't really like Amy too much, the character. I felt like, I wish that they kind of stuck with one thing and just went with it. Like they should have shown Amy either being innocent the whole time. But in the first scene that she was in, it made it look like she was hiding something. And then in the second scene, it just kind of did a 180 and it's like, no, I didn't actually do anything. I don't know. I wish they kind of went either or. And it was like Jerry's, like, I wish the joke was like Jerry thinking that she was, having affairs and stuff, but it's all in his head and he's being silly, even though Amy's innocent. I don't know. It's just a bit of strange writing, but overall, I liked the episode. A special mention to the Doctor. Yeah. It's my favorite secondary. He was wicked.
Does he appear in your top 20?
No, just misses out. Just. Right. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same. If I had a top 30, he'd probably appear in there somewhere. Yeah. But yeah, easily the standout, not only secondary character, but part of this episode for me for sure.
Yeah. Well, my top 10 secondary characters, I haven't read this out in a while, but number 10 is Newman. Number 9 is Corinne from The Marine Biologist. Kruger is number 8. Milos from The Comeback is number 7. Bookman from The Library is at number 6. Number 5 is Susan Ross. Number 4 is The Soup Nazi. Number 3, Uncle Leo from today's episode. Number 2, of course, Frank Costanza, the legend. And number 1, George Steinbrenner.
Nice. I don't have my list in front of me, but I can tell you that the number 1 spot is a tie between Elton Bennis and Jack Lompus.
Yes, two curmudgeon old dudes.
Love them.
Yeah, love them. But you definitely have to have your top 20s in the final episode.
Definitely.
On March 31st, when we wrap this one up.
Hopefully in the next 2.5 months, I'll be able to wrangle up a list of 10 people.
I'm sure you will. You'll be fine. Anyway, that was another episode of Bidwell Ask. Thank you so much for listening. We love hearing from you. Your emails, your texts, your tweets, your Facebook messages, whatever way you communicate with us. We do read every single one and enjoy hearing from you. If you haven't spoken to us before and like to say hello, or if you want to say hello again, bidwellbaskpodcast@gmail.com is our email, and you can find us on social media at BIDWBASC. You can find this podcast anywhere you can get podcasts, Apple, Spotify, our own website, which is in the show notes as well, and
That's right, and you can support us financially as well. We have a Patreon, and if you don't want to commit to a monthly amount, we do have PayPal as well. Check out those details in the show notes. And finally, we do run the biggest Seinfeld community online. It's called Seinfeldisms. It is a Facebook group, so check that out for all sorts of awesome stuff coming up in the next month or two and throughout the rest of 2021.
Indeed, and thanks to our current Patreon subscribers as of recording, Holly, Nakia, Jeff, Neil, and Dan. So they get this episode earlier than everyone else, and they get advanced episodes of Season 11, our current bonus podcast, where Stephen and we write entire episodes of Seinfeld set in the modern era, and we read them out to you.
That's right. They also get access to Curbcast, which we've just finished Season 3 on about a month or so ago. So if you want access to all those things, as well as access to our normal episodes a week early, check out the Patreon. Again, all the details are in the show notes. And yes, thank you to our current patrons for their support. It means a lot.
It does.
What are we doing next week?
Next week, we are doing Season 8, our second last ever Season 8 episode, The Money.
Oh,
a
nice.
very not really talked about episode. It's the final appearance of Jack Klompus.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's only in 3 or 4 episodes in the entire series, but this is his last one.
Take the money.
Yeah, the money. It's something I think about Jerry owing Jack money or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like a plot. And there's a couple other things that
The
happen.
name doesn't ring a bell. Maybe it's set down in Del Boca Vista.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it does if it's got Jack.
Well, like I mentioned, not really one that's spoken about too often. Yeah, so anyway.
Well, we'll talk about it next week.
Indeed. My name's Ivan.
And I'm Stephen.
And we'll catch you next week with the money.
The money.
The money.